Well, welcome everybody. Today we are super excited. We have Heather with us, who's a salon and independent stylist, business coach with over 20 years of industry experience, from small town stylist to corporate beauty sales and national training. The host of the Hair Hustle podcast, where she shares expert insights on budgeting, marketing, and promotional strategy to help beauty professionals build profitable and sustainable businesses. Heather specializes in independent stylist profitability, guiding stylists through pricing strategies, budgeting techniques, and business structures that ensure long-term financial success. She also provides hands-on social media training and services, including customized content creation, monthly marketing packages, and strategy coaching to help stylists and salon owners grow their brands online. With a deep understanding of both behind the chair work and business strategy, Heather delivers practical results-driven solutions that empower beauty professionals to take control of their finances, master marketing, and create a thriving career on their own terms. So welcome, Heather.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So, I always like to dive in, because every time we get somebody's bio or anything like that, it's always 20 years experience
Yeah.
or 15 years of experience, and it's never like what that experience is. So I
Yeah,
always go for that first question of
sure.
like how did we get here today in 2025? Because that's 20 years that have happened, but what brought us here today?
Sure. So I probably have more years of experience, but I don't like to show my age. So we just say over 20 because that's a good way to start. But I actually I started in a salon. My mom actually had a salon when I was young. And so I started with like retail and doing all of like the behind the scenes things. I went off to college and I actually dropped out of college 2 years in, out of four-year university, and I started going to beauty school without anyone of my family knowing until like it started. And so
Amazing.
yeah, and so after I went to beauty school, I went behind the chair. I went to like a corporate, I think it was like a Fiesta at the time. I don't even think that's a thing anymore, but that's where that's where I went. And I decided to start working again I started working as an independent stylist right after. Actually, I got my first paycheck. I was number one in like retail sales, so I think I had,
Mm.
more expectations in my head at that time. And I decided, you know what? I think I'm going to try the independent route, and that's what I did. So and I finished college actually. So I did it for a year, then I went back to school. It was great to me during that time. And I had graduated and yeah, and I feel like my life was just kind of crazy because I was real. It's so funny to me when people explain to me like their child, like their kiddo when they go off to school. I say kiddo, but I guess I should say like their young adult child. And I'm like, don't worry, I was so lost, but I feel like I really found my way. So I was pretty lost for a long time, but that's okay because I ended up meeting my sales consultant, and I was actually looking for a job for my husband on Indeed at the time, and I was an independent stylist behind the chair, and I saw an opening for a position in corporate sales in the beauty industry for a large company. And I reached out to my sales consultant at the time, and that's where my corporate journey started. So I was behind the chair for about 10 years. And then I started with corporate sales for about 10 years as well. And now I'm back as an independent stylist. And so, because of a restructure and some other things, I just decided that the corporate journey wasn't for me anymore. And I decided to hop on with all of the things that I had been doing behind the scenes with my stylist, which was independent stylist coaching, social media, and some marketing things. And that's how I landed. And even somewhere in there, I also have my instructor's license. So
Oh,
it
love that.
was a long journey here.
Love that. When you say corporate sales,
Yeah.
what exactly categorizes corporate sales?
Sure. So I say corporate sales because I worked for L'Oreal's professional division. Most people know it as salon centric. And so I was on the road, and I took on several different sizes of accounts, from like top Michigan accounts, top Michigan salons, and all the way down to like independent stylists. And So I cared for actually accounts all over the state of Michigan. So I'm located in Bay City, Michigan, and I would actually I there was a time when I traveled over to the west side of Michigan and I got to care for some really amazing salons over there as well. And so, but yes, I've kind of been all over the state, and I represented about 50 brands. And also in that journey, I started to train some of my counterparts on social media. And so they would actually send me to like our corporate trainings, and I would be part of an Ask the Expert segment where I would help my counterparts on social media. So yeah,
Amazing.
that's most of my corporate journey.
Hey, that works, which ties into where'd the passion and knowledge for social media come from?
I Well, I did not love social media. So you guys heard some of this when you started. It was not so when people tell me that they don't like social media, and I'm like, perfect, we're going to be great friends.
Mm.
Because it was not my favorite thing to do. Even when Facebook came about, I was in college, and I still remember my friend was the one who signed me up because I was like, this is going nowhere. She's like, it's going somewhere. I'm like, no, it's not. So, so as I evolved, and I was kind of like on and off of Facebook and Instagram as a stylist, and it started to become much larger and started to grow so much when I started my sales journey. And I remember seeing brands obviously like picking up their pace on social media and things like that. And I remember going into accounts and salons and stylists, and they would know things before I would, before the corporate like could even get down to you, it would be there. And I remember thinking that like this, I have to get on and I have to do it. So I actually hopped on as a professional more than anything else. And I do have personal accounts now, where I do like styling videos and things like that. But at that time, I had just started with that, and I started doing contests, and it really started to get me recognized with like brands and different things. And that's really why it was a moment in a salon when it was just like, I'm not going to be able to keep up unless if I go on social media, because this is where people are getting their information.
So good. And I'm so excited because you're offering these social media workshops, and we're going to have some of our students and alumni take this workshop, which we're really excited about here coming up in June. And so, Heather, I want to talk about this because how important is it for salon owners to train their team members, right? And then,
Yeah.
and we can talk from our own personal experience, and then of course, Sean and I coach salons, and a lot of them really struggle themselves, even the salon owners. And you
Mhm.
gave a statistic in the class just this
Mhm.
past week because you taught a class at our Paul Mitchell School, Michigan,
Yes.
and you said 72% of new clients check your Instagram before booking, and that
Mhm.
also 81% of salon clients say they trust stylists they follow online. Talk
Mhm.
about that.
So the statistics get, and as I've been in like the like social media research and learning about it more and more, the statistics, I am telling you, in the last 10 years I've really been doing this, it has gotten significantly higher. The percentages go up every year, and it's not going away. And I know as a business owner, like I know I have a business, I owned a boutique, like I get it. It's that it's not always like this huge return, right? It's like, I think sometimes it's like when we do a service as an owner, or when your stylist does a service, or when you sell a piece of retail, it's like an exchange, right? Right away. And it's always like there's dollars coming in and out. And social media is a bit of a different beast. So sometimes it's really hard as an owner to think about investing in that, because it's not something that is like a dollar amount that comes right back to you.
Right.
Although right now it's just becoming a part of business where people must understand that no matter what you do, and I always give this restaurant analogy as well. So if you were out with like some friends, or if you were out doing whatever it was you were doing, so take yourself even out of the beauty industry, what's the first thing that you do if you're going to go to a restaurant? You look it up. And I always go on their
Yeah.
social media, I go on their
Right.
Facebook, I go on their that. So even if you took yourself out of the beauty industry, if you went to a restaurant, because most people are familiar with that example, or even a hotel, if you were to go look and they had nothing on their Facebook or Instagram, what would you do? I wouldn't go there.
Right.
Or if it looked really bad, I would be like, yeah, we're probably not going to go there. Right. So those are always the things that when it comes to being in business, understanding that number one, it's not going away. Number two, it's only getting more and more popular to actually go onto social media to look. And people are really becoming trusted sources online. And so I always challenge the salon to be the trusted source for their local community and for their stylists and for their stylist clients. It's really important that we understand that people go online and they do develop a relationship with someone, whether that be the person posting doesn't necessarily know, or the quote unquote influencer doesn't know, but you really are building a rapport with clients, with new clients, with old clients who maybe left you and they weren't sure if they wanted to come back. All of those things are really important to understand, that you are literally gaining people's trust by posting online, which I think is the
Mhm.
most important thing. And that was also one of the things that I recognized when I started my journey in sales, was that there's always that saying that it's like five. If anyone's ever been in sales, it's like you need to go see them 5 times before they would ever buy anything. And the most wonderful thing is that you now have the opportunity to showcase yourself in front of them, to take away some of those touch points that you have to do in person. You get to take those away and you actually get to see it right from social media, which I think is pretty amazing. So
Yeah, I love that so much. And talk to the salon owner and the newer stylist,
mhm.
because Sean and I do a lot of coaching in our
Yeah.
salons for our new stylists. And then, of course, we coach salon owners that just aren't on it. And
Mhm.
so you gave one really great point of number one, you've got to gain trust, right? So
Yeah.
trust is everything, right? So our organization, our business moves to the speed of trust.
Yes,
So
sure
if
does.
that doesn't give you a good enough reason to post on social media, I don't know what else does.
Yeah.
But talk to them, because I feel like I'm blue in the face so many times, Heather, with our team members and salons that we coach. Talk
Mhm.
to them right now and tell them some of your top reasons why really building your social media brand is imperative to your success.
Number one, you will get, okay. I'm gonna hit the nail on the head right with
Okay.
number one, is that you sometimes don't want to post on social media because it feels overwhelming, because sometimes the people that you're watching as sometimes the people that you are consuming, or the influencers that you're consuming, they see you're looking at them like, I don't want to post all of this. I don't know how to do this and I don't know how to do that. Number one, you don't have to be in that bucket. You can be in a bucket of 2 to 3 days a week.
Mhm.
And if you did 3 times a week, 52 weeks a year, that's how many posts? I mean, I'm not great at math, 150-ish. I'm not super with math, but yes. So that is 150 posts that you had to
Yeah.
gain someone's trust. And it was only 3 times a week, and you can schedule it. Okay. So, number one, you will gain influence in your local community.
Mhm.
So I think sometimes we think that we have to have people fly in, or we're following unrealistic influencers, that they are doing someone's hair, they're doing a celebrity's hair, or they're doing this. And even, I mean, I'm not talking bad about any of our brands, because I think all of our brands are wonderful in the beauty industry, but we even follow some top um, brands who come in and teach to our salons, and they're doing unrealistic things like going flying somewhere, or their guest is paying for that, things like that, that's not realistic, but they can understand that they can have a local influence where someone can just drive to them within an hour, right? We don't have to be in that bucket. And I think sometimes that becomes really that's just really intimidating to do. And I would never want people to feel that way. That's also another reason why I do this, because I feel like there's a lot of social media information out there, but it's not brought to like a local level. So number two is
Yeah.
that you're advertising. So you don't necessarily have to, can you do Facebook and Instagram ads? Yes, I do ads for actually 4 accounts. However, you don't have to be that person that does that. You can literally find a few different viral options of like audio, something cute, something fun. It doesn't have to be super well put together. And you can actually promote any of your events. So those can all go on there. So now you have free event promotion, right? You
Mm.
also have a local influence, and the 81% of people who actually trust someone that they follow, they can trust you. They don't have to trust someone else, because sometimes other people are giving not really great information. And as an owner and as a hairstylist who also helps owners, I see so many people who they look at a like your guests are following influencers that are doing an 8-hour service. That's not realistic for the real world. We don't I don't have 8 hours to give to one person. And most of my stylists don't ever have 8 hours to
Mhm.
give to one person. So you actually can be that person when someone needs a color correction. You can be the color correction queen of your area, and you can show people exactly how many appointments it would take, exactly how many hours it would be, around what the estimate of what that service would be. So there's just so many things that you can have influence on, and so many even just like great tips during a consultation. I have so many fun things for a
Mm,
salon that it's like yeah, and they can just follow you
yeah.
on social media to get their information. So I just feel like it's a really great source. I feel like I really answered that
Yeah.
question, but yes.
No, that's so good,
Yeah.
because I think the biggest thing, like when I hired my first
Mhm.
person to help me with my social media, I was just really stuck. And then she started to give me ideas, and that opened
Mhm.
up the floodgates for me. Right.
Oh,
And
yes.
so, and I think that's just it, finding that right person, that mentor to really help you. And
Mhm.
that's why I'm excited about your workshop. And
Mhm.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. There's two reasons: trust and influence. I mean, what
Mhm.
more do you need to start
Yes.
build? And it's like, just get started.
Yeah.
And so what do you teach in that workshop to help get people, what has been kind of your response to this to get people moving on this? Because I think that's the biggest thing, is to build that momentum that Sean and we're like, okay, tell me about your social media. And it's
Yeah.
crickets. It's been like 2 months since they posted. It's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
stop it. Like, just
Yeah.
get started.
Yeah, I think, well, first I have so many stories of just like embarrassing moments of my social media. So I think that that really helps set the stage when
That's good.
people are like scared, and I'm
Yes,
like, listen, it's going to be fine. And no one remembers, especially if you're getting started in
exactly.
2025. I have like statistics on like the amount of content now that people are consuming, how many times it takes. Like, the likelihood that someone is going to see it and be like, wow, she did absolutely terrible. And if you did do that terrible, great, because they're going to keep following you. So let it
Mhm.
be. Um, so one thing that I do in the class, though, besides shout out my embarrassing moments to make people feel better, is that I also give them, I have this exercise. And some people are like, and we do what's called a post-it party. And so during the post-it party, it's like, even if someone has never wanted to do social media, we start with like your marketing strategy, you build your client, all of like your dream client. And in the second part is when we actually go through like what I would call like the workshop style of like, we have poster boards, we have post-its, and we do an entire post-it party. And what the idea is that you get all of your ideas out. So whether that was you wanted to showcase a style that you did on your daughter, if you wanted to do a reel on your event, if you wanted to, and I mean, how to do dry shampoo. And I kind of like during that time of just like, and it's like you just dump it. So every single idea, a post-it, a post-it, a
Love it.
post-it,
Hmm.
and it's not anything crazy. Then we go through an actual strategy of how like your posting cadence and where you want to post it and how many times, and it really goes by how many times a week they want to post, because if you're not posting at all and you're telling me you're going to post every day, I'm like, well, you're probably not. It took me, I post almost every day, probably like 6 days a week on my page, and it took me years to post every
Hmm.
day. It just did, because I mean, it's not my full-time job. So and that's okay. It doesn't have to be, but 2 or 3 times a week is completely okay to gain like that local influence and the influence that you're looking for to gain new clients in your chair and to make more money behind the chair. And I think one of the most beautiful things too is because I post every day, like even just I partnered with O2 and they sent me some like beautiful things to like try and test out. So as a stylist, I got some new tools out of it, and I post and do the things. So it's like I understand that sometimes you think, why am I doing all of this? But there's really some really great benefits to having a strategy in your social media. And that's really what that gives them. So then they're going to have ideas. Once they do that session, then they take their whole poster board, they roll it up and they get to take it home with them. Most people, I always say 30
Right.
days of content. The guarantee is 30 days.
Mhm.
But honestly, most people walk away with like 60 to 90, and then they just keep rinsing and
Wow.
repeating. Yeah. And it's really fun to
Yeah.
like watch, because if somebody wanted to post every day and the amount of time I actually give you, you'd get like 30 days, but the amount of time we have in the workshop, you'd get 30 days, but most people are like 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes 4 times a week, and they get, and they get probably 60 to 90 days. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so I just think that it's really fun. And it's fun to watch after they've taken it, like all of the social media posts that I get taken. That part's really fun, is to see how they're
Mhm.
inspired. So yeah.
So when you're talking about posts,
Mhm.
are you talking about making sure that they're posting just stories, or are you looking for an actual post on a daily or every third day, or like what is your recommendation for that? Because I know we'll talk influencers, for example.
Yeah.
That's everybody's stories filled with influencers that have 40 products that they support in one day.
I know. Yes. And it's just exactly. Listen to me. Exactly. And you don't have to be, so if you're going to start, we're going to start. And I compare everything to a diet because I feel like that's what we all know. But it is sort of like a diet. We're going to layer it on. So if you're not posting
Mm.
at all, we're going to start with like, if you want to commit and you're feeling like, yes, I kind of like get to the recommendation of 3 days a week. And as a stylist, if you're working, like, because I totally get it. There are days where I'm behind the chair where it's like you went in and then you came out and it's dark and you kind of forgot what your middle name was. And so I get that. And so because you were just dumping into so many things. So if that's the case when they're behind the chair, I'd recommend 3 times a week and make it on days that you actually can. So one post could be like a reel, for example, of like a day in the life. And if you're just getting started with day in the life, when I do my class, I always recommend like a morning or an afternoon or take a lunch break with me. Doing an entire day in the life is a commitment. And it is like you're going to forget shots, you're going to do this, and I do them and they're a bit painful. However, but if you can do like a spend the morning with me and you definitely start to see that, that's great. Or spend the morning with me on my day off. Super. Start there. Then you're going to do like a carousel. And it can be of like your hair, it can be of your projects, it can be of a color correction, something like that. And then you can do a static post, which is like one picture, right?
Mhm.
Um, and they can simply have, and it can even be a introductory post if they've never done something like that. That's always a great one. Or even just like a tip. And I always try to, in my own life and when I got started, I have a theme strategy. And so if you don't plan it, or if you go a week without planning it, I always have a backup plan. And it's always Motivation Monday. So that's some type of a Transformation Tuesday. So if
Mm.
you can do some type of a transformation,
Mhm.
I don't care if it's on your own hair. Wednesday is what's happening. I always have a backup plan if you can't tell. Thursday is some type of a tip or a transformation, okay? And then Friday is a feature. So Friday can be like you can feature, if you're an owner, you can feature a stylist, you can feature a promotion, you can do something like that. But yes.
Ooh, I love the theme idea.
Yeah, so
I
so
can
it's
get
like
behind
if
that.
you forgot, if like, because I've been there, right? Like I'm the girl that
Mhm.
I go on a diet and I need the McDonald's option of my diet for today. Like I can't, do you know what I mean? Because sometimes we don't meal prep. And so when you don't prep, like it's okay, but you need to have like some type of a backup. And honestly, that my little strategy there, that like saved me for a lot of years. I'm not gonna lie. So
That's
yes, yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Can you talk about some of your pet peeves? Because I think it's important to share those too. Like, what are some of your fails that you're seeing out there that stylists are doing? I'm going to share my biggest pet
Yeah,
peeve.
I was
Okay.
like, give me something. I
So,
f-
to me, this is like passive aggressive
oh,
posting, and it's when anytime that they are like, um, what's the word that I want to use? Like,
ranting.
berating client,
Oh,
like
wait, say that again.
berating clients, like you have a client that does this or doesn't show up. So they're passive aggressively against clients. And so clients are seeing these posts, right? And so it seems to be like a
I hate
culture
that.
right now
Mhm.
with stylists. And then all the stylists are chiming in like, yeah, so it's us against the clients. And it's just, I'm telling you, it hurts my soul. It hurts my soul.
So love that. That is my number one. I was going to say rants when they go on a rant. Like,
Yes.
and they say, so we're in the same category here.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that I'm going to say is that when someone tells me that they do this, or if they do that, I don't even like when someone posts, oh gosh, the cancellation policy. And
Right.
sometimes my people who I coach, I'll be like,
Exactly.
so who canceled on you today? And I call them out because I'll literally like text them and say, okay, did someone cancel today? Because what was that about? Because I could tell,
Yeah.
or didn't show up. Like, oh my word. So social media is meant to be light and fun, and it is meant to keep people engaged, and it is meant to make people feel good. And back in, I think we still say this, I still say this, but we had on stage and off stage. Like, you're off stage so you can do, but like
Yeah.
when you walk in the salon, you're on stage,
Right.
so you better. So when you
That's
post
good.
on social media, you're on stage.
Hmm.
And if you want to be, I'm not going to say that those people aren't gaining attention and engagement and things like that, but to me, you like sold your soul out to
Yeah.
the terrible people
Yeah.
of the internet. If
I
you feel
agree.
like that was what was going to get you
Hmm.
attention, and to me that's like an integrity issue, and that's good on you, but that's not typically how I teach. Now, if you want to be an influencer that is trying to get like brand deals or trying to get certain things, or you want to be an influencer of
Right.
stylists and you don't want to grow your business behind the chair,
Right.
that's totally
Right.
fine, and you can take some of my tips and
Mhm.
tricks and you can use those. However, I am a coach that helps people gain their business behind the chair, and helps people to be professional and understand like what that looks like from like a guest and client, or client and stylist relationship. So I don't always recommend the rants or anything like that, because you literally probably made
Right.
people feel so terrible about themselves. And we're just not in the business. You came probably to the beauty industry to make people feel good. And you
Right.
literally got up on your microphone and
Right.
tore them down, which is insane to me. I mean, and I laugh because I think, I was in sales, I was a stylist. Like, you think I've never had anything that I've wanted to hop on and say? Absolutely. But you don't. You call up your friend, say it in the mirror, record it, do like type out
Exactly.
the email and save it. Whatever you have to do to make yourself feel
Delete
better,
it.
write the letter and burn it later. I don't care, but
Yeah.
don't do it, so yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
those
Because
are my biggest pet peeves. Yes, I'm
well,
with
you
you.
move towards what you focus on, and now all of
Yeah.
a sudden, now you
Yeah.
don't have any clients in your chair. And so as we start to end this out, what other
Mhm.
advice do you give new stylists in particular, or maybe a stylist that's been out for a couple of years and they're
Mhm.
seeing stagnation
Mhm.
in their clientele base? They're not having a lot of new clients, they're not having them
Mhm.
rebook. What are other ways that you suggest to build a clientele besides social media? Although I think that's incredibly important,
Yeah.
of course.
I have a great one. So I haven't been behind the chair for 10 years, just FYI, and I went back 1 day a week. So if you can imagine, I am also trying to build my 1 day a week up.
There you go.
And I started this, and I always used to tell stylists about this, and no one would really do it. But I started doing this, and I have already gained clients from it, and it's not social media. So which I do promote it on social media, but I do free 20-minute styling sessions. And so they can
Okay.
come in and they can bring their own tool in,
Love
they
it.
can bring their own anything in, and it's a 20-minute session. And I
Love
then
it.
gift them my if you I'll grab my little thing that I gift them too. Hang on.
Yeah. What a great idea. Free 20-minute styling sessions. Why haven't I thought of that, Sean? That's
Oh, sorry.
perfect.
Okay,
Train
so
people how to style their hair.
oh yeah, because
Fantastic.
and honestly, that's what most of my social media, like for my styling account, my personal account, is about, because people don't really know how to do their hair. And one of the things too is that I noticed being
Yeah.
on the outside is that they don't really understand either like products to use because we're not telling them what products to use. And one of the number one questions I used to get asked is, why do you have so many products? Or do you really need that many products? Like you're a product pusher. And I'm like, I'm not, but if you want to wear your hair this way one day, this way another
Mm.
day, like it all, I mean, it matters. Like you don't, it's like, think about your ingredient list and your, you can tell I love food. Think about your, all of your spices and things like that to make a recipe. They all change. And sometimes you got to go to the grocery store to make the recipe, right? So sometimes you need different products to make different things. But this is actually what I made. And it just says,
Mm.
you are so pretty. And it has some examples of my work. And then on the back, so when someone books a freestyling
it.
session with me, they come in, they can bring their own tool, their own curling iron, their own whatever, and then they can bring an inspo pick. And then if they just enjoy $20 off your first service with me, and then they get a free, one of my favorite products, which is a basu oil and exactly how to use it. So yeah,
Love it. That is like a genius idea right there. It's
yeah.
getting them in the chair. You're building trust
Mm-hmm.
with them, and they're like, "Oh man, I need to come back and see you."
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it.
And
Are you
honestly,
selling to them while they're in your chair?
oh yes, yeah. Well, for
Yeah.
we had an event and we sold some, yep. I do really like
Yeah.
product. I love
So
to,
you're
I love,
selling retail,
I do.
selling more
Oh,
services.
yes.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, yes. Because
Yeah.
after they did this, I didn't personally have time and we were really busy for the event. We need to kind of like figure out the whole booking strategy after that, but that's okay. But I did gain 3 new clients from
Hmm.
this, just from that, which I felt like, and that was, we did it at the middle to end of April, and it's May 15th. So, I mean, I feel like that was a good, the freestyling sessions. Yeah. Nobody knows how to do their hair. And we see all of
How are
these
you
kind of like
getting
videos.
those out to people? Do you recommend networking events? This is where I have,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure how to help my newer stylists that
Mhm.
younger, because I do so much networking, but I've done that my
Yeah.
whole life because I'm a
Yeah.
part of nonprofits and churches, but I don't
Mhm.
really know if this new generation is part of groups like I am.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
what recommendation do you give for that?
So I always recommend if you want to be, I mean, I have kind of like, if you want to be, if you don't want to talk to anybody, you can totally, I would do typically, so I do $20 off of my first service. If you and your salon owner can work together and do 50% off if you don't really like to talk to people that much or be part of networking events, I would highly
Right.
recommend 50%. I would make the deal a little bit better. Does that make
Gotcha.
sense?
Yeah.
So,
But
because
how
I
can they
feel,
meet
yep,
people? How do they meet new people?
sure.
Like in the
So I have,
grocery store? I don't know.
yeah. So, well, that is also, I know. I find when I have an owner that has new stylists, it's like we have to talk to them about like where do they go. So I usually have them
Yes.
list off everywhere that they shop, everywhere that they go,
Okay.
every place that they talk to, and then we go from there on like who could be a guest. Because at that point, you're looking for anybody. You're not really looking for an ideal person. At that point, you're just looking to start to fill the seats, and then you
For a
build your
body.
ideal client
Yeah.
from there. Yes. Yep. And then if you can make the deal a little bit better, I always recommend that. But I have them list off
Okay.
everywhere that they go. So if that's the Starbucks coffee shop, if that
Okay.
whatever, like where do you frequent? And then you go from there. Or do you have like friends? Do you have family? Do you have cousins? Do you have this? Do you have that? And then sending out the referral bonus actually to them. And there's another one that I have. It's a digital card and it's you can send that to 5 friends. And so you actually, while your guest is sitting in the chair, you can even do this for if
Oh,
someone's building
great.
their ideal, they have to
Okay.
send that digital card, $20 off, whatever it is. You send that off to 5 friends and they get something. So they either get entered to
Beautiful.
win a tool or that. You don't get it back though. You don't get it from the ideal client. Like the client that's in your chair just gets like a mini. That's their bonus.
Yeah.
They don't get it off their appointment. So yeah. Okay. Anyway,
Hmm.
Girl,
that's it.
you're giving me so
Sorry.
many ideas.
I
This
have
is
so
a
many.
great
I know.
podcast. So good.
I love that. So as we kind of wrap up here, we'll obviously want to know how people can get a hold of you. But we spent a lot of time talking about social media, and I just wanted you to end on something that was in your bio, and you talked about stylist profitability and guiding stylists through pricing strategies. And I think that that's a perfect way to end this because pricing, obviously, if you turn on the news or you go anywhere,
Yeah.
rising prices is a
Product
topic.
costs.
I
Product
mean,
costs.
everything.
Yep.
it's everywhere, and there's a taboo in our industry that people don't want to talk about raising prices, or everywhere else we go, it's normal. gas
It
station,
is.
grocery store.
Everywhere.
We don't think twice that all of a
Mhm.
sudden our eggs are double overnight.
No.
However, as a stylist behind the chair,
Mhm.
our costs have doubled overnight, yet
Mhm.
we are so uncomfortable of looking at a guest and saying, here's the reality of where we're at. What
Mhm.
used to cost me X now costs me double X.
Yeah.
And so what are some of your strategies? Obviously, don't give them away all so that
Yeah.
people will reach out to you,
Yeah.
but I think that this is such a topic of conversation in the environment that we're all currently living in.
I have so many things on this topic. So, number one, I always recommend that we evaluate every single year. And there was a time when I would recommend like every 6 months, especially when it was like going
Yeah.
through like the raising, because I mean, I couldn't even keep up. So it was pretty nuts. And I don't always recommend that they do it based on product cost. I recommend that it comes every 6 to 12 months period across the board. That's not to say that there wasn't an exception to the rule from pretty much 2021 to 2024, because there was, and we were like, yep, do it at 5 across the board, done. So that happened, right? But we do it based on a demand on like their time. So I look at their books, I look at everything, like how much time they have, because we all know that you don't want to always have to constantly be doing more people, and as your skills have developed, you are able to charge more. Now, I always say when you do go into the grocery store, the lovely greeter at Meijer or at Walmart or wherever you buy your stuff, they don't go, Heather, your milk went up today. Like they don't say that to me. So you
Exactly.
don't have to announce it. It doesn't have to be this big thing. It can simply be, here is your new price today. It can simply say, okay, I have had a menu upgrade. That's always that's my
I
strategy
like
is
that.
the menu upgrade, because words matter. So we've had a menu upgrade today, especially if you're an independent stylist. If you're a commissioned stylist, you can say that you've had a promotion, whatever that is. But we've had a
Mhm.
menu upgrade, and here is all of your options. I mean, I use Gloss, and it's never been easier to literally be like, okay, here, I'm going to check you out today. I take all of my guests up to the front and I say, today we did this, we did this, we did this, we did this. So as an independent stylist, I feel like it's never been easier to just simply click it and
Yeah.
show them, and that's your total. So I think even going through that is always a great way. And then I typically try to break everything down, and we do go through goals like in my coaching of like, how much do you want to make? And here's what you have to actually bring in to make this much, because here's all of your costs. Like we definitely do all of that. But I have some people who aren't even at like $1 a minute. And I'm like, that's like, that's
Mm,
like base. You gotta be, you
yeah.
need to be somewhere. And I think sometimes it's very confusing because here, like in our area and in the Midwest of Michigan and Midwest Michigan, I have more people who aren't charging enough than I do have people that are like charging way too much. Don't get me wrong. I have some people that we had to go through their strategy because they lost a lot of people. But I'm like, you also have to look at like in your area, like I always look at like what the average income is. And if their hair costs probably more than one paycheck, you have to think about how much value that's good,
Right.
but you have to think about how much value you have to add as a service provider to that to make that worth that. So
Yeah.
was that a good answer for you? Did I give you some good tips? Okay.
Yeah, love that. So how can our listeners find you? How can they find you on social
Sure.
media?
So they can find me on social media. You can go to my personal, see all my fun styling sessions, and where probably you can make fun of me the most is at heather.podlesney on Instagram and on TikTok. My TikTok was hacked, so you can just go see. We're starting over
Oh my
there. You can go
goodness.
have some fun with me there. And
Great.
so heather.podlesney. Also, my coaching is on Facebook and on Instagram, and that's at heatherpod salon coach. You can follow me there. You can always email me at helloheatherpod@gmail.com. And then also, and my last name, so that you know when I say at Heather Podlesney, it's Podlesney. And then you can go to my website, www.heatherpod.com. I answer all of my messages, all of the things. You can get some really fun, like free budgeting stuff, things like that. If you go onto my coaching website, I've got some fun little freebies that people can, like budgeting, expense trackers, things like that. So, but yes, yep. And I'm
And your
currently working
podcast.
on a workbook and my podcast. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
a hair
The
hustle.
Hair Hustle
Yes.
podcast, please
Mhm.
do. We're on episode 33, which what a labor of love the podcast is. I'm sure you guys know that. Anyway.
It is. We love it.
Yes, yes.
And we
Awesome.
love you. Thank you for being
Thank you.
on
Oh
today.
my gosh. Thank you so much for thank you for having me. I
Look
so
forward to working
appreciate
with
it.
you.
Yes, I'm excited. Thank you so much, you guys.
Our
All
pleasure,
right.
Heather. Have a
All
great
right,
day,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye bye.